Hey, December 1st, 2022, Lake of the Ozarks Fishing Report. Yeah, it's been almost a month since we done a report. Just been real busy building our son and daughter-in-law a new home, so that's pretty exciting. But we haven't had a chance to get out here and there. We fished a couple things, a couple events. The Missouri Invitational out of Old Kinderhook, every year. That's a pretty big event. That was just a couple weeks ago. Denise fished a Bass and Bob event last weekend. We've been out, periodically, through the week here. So we've been out enough to keep us up to date what's going on. As things slow down here in the next few weeks, we'll be out a lot more. Things are obviously changing quite a bit now. We're settling into our winter patterns. We're not quite fully there yet, but we're getting there. The lake level, it's 657, 1.5 right now, which is about 3 foot low already. Normally this time of year, we're still up, up a couple feet. We don't really have this drawdown until late January, February normally. But this year we're already down a little bit, which doesn't bother me. It kind of pushes a lot of fish to more channel banks. There's less water basically for them to be spread out, like they are throughout the fall and early winter, like we've been seeing for the last several weeks. If you've paid attention to any tournament results, like I always say, you can kind of look at some of the tournament results to see what's being caught, how much is being caught, if everybody's catching them, or if it's just a few that seem to figure it out. And that's exactly what we've had the last several weeks. You'll notice, there's sometimes it's hard to even get a limit some days, but usually late fall, early winter, you can get a limit, but man, it might weigh 10 pounds, The last couple tournaments I've fished, that's kind of where I've been settling in there. About 10, 11 pounds. Which is just 5 keepers basically. In the fall you get a lot of opportunities for big bites. You're throwing topwaters, and a lot of times you'll get a lot of boils, a lot of blow ups. You might get 3 or 4 of those a day if you hook up with those fish. Those are usually your better fish, and it makes a total difference between, 11, 12 pounds to, 15, 18 pounds, which is a good bag. So, it just kind of depends on how your day goes. But, things are changing. Like I said, our water temps in the upper 40s, maybe hovering around 50 right now, which is, it's getting there. A lot of your fish are going to start moving. They're bunching up a little more, and they won't be so spread out, and you'll be able to kind of settle into a certain pattern as far as when it comes to types of banks, or cover, or where you're going to be throwing. You're not going to be maybe fishing so much flats. There's going to be more point oriented, and then channel banks, whether it be main lake channel banks, midway, or all the way in the backs of creeks. Channel banks basically is either obviously where the old channel is, or not necessarily where the old creek channel goes, but more of a steep bank. At least, if you're a flip or a cast off the bank, you want to be in, 10, 12 to anywhere 16, 18 foot, a little steeper banks where these fish, as we get these cold fronts, cold snaps, now water temp starts coming down, these fish can go down in the water column without swimming real far distance. It's just more of a convenience for them, or comfort, comfort level for them, where they can rise up in a water column to feed, or maybe soak up sun, or what have you, or the reverse, settle back down if we get a cold snap and we get a real drastic change in the water temperature, which is, I'm going to say 4 or 5 degrees overnight, or within a day or two. them fish will settle down in the water column where it's a little more stable water. But then, throughout the day, they may move up and feed real heavy. So it's just more of a convenience and comfort to them to relate to more channel style or steeper banks. So that's kind of what, as we move into winter, that's what we're going to concentrate more on, to find these schools of fish and really slow down and fish it really thorough. As far as baits now, we're still kind of spread out. Topwater, I'm not going to totally rule out topwater because you can still catch them on it. Different baits, maybe like, like this evergreen, I call it a pencil popper, gunfish. There's different names for it, but this bait here creates a lot of, type of disturbance on the bank, a little type of disturbance. It sprays a lot of water, moves a lot of water, makes a lot of commotion without retrieving it very fast out of the strike zone. As our water temperature drops down into the upper 40s and even mid 40s, they'll still hit top water, but they're less likely to really chase a bait. So something like this that's bouncing on the surface, making a lot of commotion, and stays in that strike zone above them. A fish may be suspended, 5, 6, 8 foot down. And even in some of that clearer water, they may be, 8, 10 foot down, and they know this thing is up there and it's creating a lot of disturbance. It's a bigger bait. They'll come on up and they'll hit these baits if it stays above them long enough or in that strike zone long enough that they can see it and they get it through their mind that's a big shad. That's one big easy meal that they may more likely, hone in on this time of year, compared to like a moving bait like a Chapo or a whopper popper or even a buzz bait. Even those baits, you're going to want to reel them really slow, a lot slower this time of year. Reel them a little bit, maybe even let them sit there and then reel them again, and try to get some of these fish that are down there suspended to come up and react on some of those baits. So I'm definitely not ruling out topwater right now, but your odds and chances of topwater bite right now is going down. We usually say mid-November, late November is the peak of it, and now we're into December, and it's starting to go down as far as your prominent pattern. Can you still catch them? Absolutely. But now we're moving more into baits. Spinner baits, a large spinner bait, it's going to work for a while. Bluff ends, like I said, steeper banks where you can, throw that bait out there and work it just below the surface, down 3-4 foot, or you can even start slow rolling it right up to the bank and just follow that contour all the way out to where, it's coming down, your bank's coming down, and then it gets to, say, the lowest it's going to be, where you're fishing might be, 12 foot or even down to 20 foot. You can just kind of roll it down, follow that contour, and see if you get a bite or two like that. As far as styles, the double willow leaf, I like it. A little bit of flash, some vibration, kind of a swim bait on the back of it, and just see if you're getting bites. If you can get bites on a bait that's moving, obviously and they're quality fish. You can cover a lot more water, increase your odds of catching fish. Obviously, and then that's going to fall right into, like right now, your rock crawler. Your rock crawler, I'm probably going to say, is probably one of your prime baits right now as far as numbers and quality. You can cover a lot of water with it. You can work it pretty slow. It'll get bites when fish aren't necessarily feeding, just by bouncing it off of rocks and making a lot of disturbance, hitting them rocks, bouncing around. If you get a fish that's laying on the bottom, he'll grab it. If you get a fish that's kind of suspended up a little bit, they'll chase it. And even fish that are suspended out, maybe 6-8 foot down, you bring a rock crawler or a wiggle wart or something like that by them, they'll grab it. And you can work this bait. You can work it pretty fast, or you can reel to the bottom, let it hit, and stop it, and then work it again, stop it, where you're still going to get some of these fish that are aggressive, but as they get more lethargic, you know, these baits like this are going to produce real well into the 40s, even down into the low 40s. You'll still catch them on these. So you just kind of vary your retrieve. You know, that's why you'll want a reel like this is a 6-to-1, and even a 5-to-1 gear ratio works best for this type of baits. You know, I'm throwing it on 12-pound fluorocarbon. You might be able to go up to 14 or something, but usually 12-pound is pretty much a general line size for these crankbaits. You know, this is a long, more limber, a light medium action rod. It's a 7'2". This is one of the Vertus rods. I really like this rod for my crankbaits. You know, I can really throw it a long ways. It gets it down there. I can really feel a lot what that bait's doing, bouncing. If it hits something, I can stop it. And then if I do catch a fish and I set the hook, it's got a lot of give to it, so it's not going to pull them treble hooks out of the fish. You know, a lot of times, not so much right now, these fish, when they're biting these baits, they're taking the whole thing in their mouth. You're getting a lot of hooks in them. But as that water cools, they'll kind of follow this bait, they'll nip at it, and they might just get that back hook in their mouth, to where if you get them hooked, you're going to want a rod that really gives with that bait, so when that fish pulls or shakes its head, that it'll give with it, keep them hooked, and not pull those hooks out of their mouth. So obviously that's why you want a little lighter action on your rod there. Same deal, stick baits. Stick baits are starting to work real well. They've been working for a few weeks, and they're going to be a pretty consistent, solid pattern here, even now or as we go into the winter. You know, several colors. I like this one. This is Wakisaki. That's a pretty good all-around bait. You know, there's all kinds of different stick bait colors. I've got several different ones. Some with like on a cloudy, overcast day, something like this with the chartreuse on the bottom can produce real well some days. It's got the purple back and the chartreuse, and then kind of transparent sides. Cloudy days, overcast days, that seems to maybe draw a few more bites. But if you just want here like another one, this is an old Lucky Craft, little bigger bait. This is that pointer. I think this is a pointer 100, if I believe. Anyway, it's got the bigger sides on it. A little thicker sides, as these fish are still feeding on some of these bigger shad. This one, moves around, flashes a little more. Looks like some of them bigger shad. This is the Aurora Black color. It's kind of a blue, almost silver pearlish, translucent, and it's got that dark back. This has been a really good color here at the Ozarks for many years. You know, that will produce throughout the winter, and any watercolor like darker or stained water all the way up to clear water. The Aurora Black has been a good color for many years. This is a Lucky Craft. I told you this is the pointer. It's the Aurora Black in the 100 series is the smaller one. This is the pointer, little bit bigger one. But like I said, you got boy, everybody's making a pretty good stick bait right now. This is that 6 cents, real good stick bait. I threw this a lot last year. I'm going to throw it a lot this year. It's just it's real similar, like your Lucky Crafts, your what am I looking for here? Your well, we got them all. We got them all in the box. You know how they all came up. But either way, there's a lot of different stick baits up. I like around and out right now nowadays. I like to just kind of go through them and see if the fish are responding to a certain rattle. Some might have a lot more rattles. Some might just have a single tungsten weight in the back. It makes a little different sound, but and colors, kind of vary your colors. Same banks, the exact same banks, steeper banks, as we get further into the winter, where, like I said, you can work on these fish that might move right up to the bank, and you'll catch them. You'll throw up on the bank, twitch it a couple times, let it sit there, and they'll grab it right then, or they may be pulled out off of the bank for whatever reason, out there in that 6, 8, 10 foot of water, suspended. So you kind of got to, work your bait from right off of the bank all the way out to the boat, and kind of work and see where you're getting your bites, and then obviously that's going to clue you in on where to expect the bites, or where these fish are setting up on any given day, where you're going to maybe get some bites. So, on the stick baits, I've thrown it on the, this is a jerkbait special by Falcon. I've been throwing that, everybody, not everyone, but a lot of rods make a rod specific for jerkbait. So that's something you really want to be aware of, and get a bait or get a rod that's going to work this bait properly. Line size 8 pound or 10 pound fluorocarbon. Some guys even go down to 6 as we get colder, and you really want to let that bait sit a lot longer, where they're maybe see the line or feel that line. And even the lighter line you go, the better action you're going to get with this bait. It's going to allow that bait to move around freely. It may make the difference of it suspending perfectly, sinking a little bit, or rising a little bit. Right now, as we're still in I'm going to say 50, upper 40s, you can still work this bait fairly aggressive and still get a lot of bites, compared to as we cool down in the low 40s or even upper 30s. You're going to have to let that bait sit some days. You have to set several days, several minutes to, maybe create or get a reaction bite, or get a fish to actually respond and bite your baits. These baits, wiggle warts, windier days, if you get a wind blowing directly in on points, that's where they're going to produce the best, or even in on these channel banks. A windy day, they just seem to bite better on these stick baits, or wiggle warts, or rock crawlers, things like that, that are moving. It's just, the fish just seem to get a lot more aggressive on windy days. So it's something I'm going to always watch if I'm out there. What my conditions are is going to kind of determine what baits I'm going to start with. Those baits are producing already. They're producing well. And they're going to produce for several weeks now, but now we're also getting into, obviously, the old A-rig. The A-rig, a lot of guys are throwing it already. They're going to continue to throw it. The only thing that's going to change with that throughout the winter is maybe the size of swim baits. I know I talked to a lot of guys that throw it a lot more than I throw it, and they're throwing some of those bigger swim baits, even 5-6 inch swim baits. Some of these Kitex. Kitex seems to be the best. It's got a squid smell. If you get fish that are following your bait or coming up nipping at it, they may more likely grab a hold and hang on to one with a scent like the squid that this has. Or if you want to spray on your different scents, shads smell, different garlic, whatever it is. This time of year is when I like, guys, people ask a lot what I think about scent, spraying it on your baits. And when the fish are really aggressive, it's not a big deal, at least not to me. But as we get into time of year like winter, when fish may be a little more lethargic, they may follow your baits a lot more, they may nip at it. I really think scent plays a big part this time of year, more so than, say, June or May, June, July, August, September, October. I don't think it's quite as important as this time of year. So this time of year, I do pay attention a lot to scent on my baits, or like, say, different baits like, first on the Alabama rig, throwing it on 50-pound braid. I like to use the Crocagator wire swim bait jig heads. The wire will actually, you hang it up on brush or cables or big rocks. You can just point your rod at it with 50-pound braid and just pull straight at you. and it'll open that bait, that hook up enough, it'll come loose and you can save your whole bait. Just bend that hook back, even if you break it. So what? You just put a new swim bait jig head on there with a new swim bait, and you go back to work, and you haven't lost this $20 rig by the time you get all your baits, hooks, and your Alabama rig all hooked up. So something to keep in mind, especially at the Ozarks, or if you're fishing around a lot of brush, or like I said, the cables. If they suspend on the cables, those wire hooks are what you want, so you can pull that and get your whole rig back. So I know some guys like to throw it on 20, 25 pound fluorocarbon, which is fine. You may get more bites, you may not, but you're more likely, if you do get hung up, to break that off compared to if you're on braid. You can get a lot of these baits loose. Back to scent before I forget about it. Like the Crocodile, all their baits are all scented, more crawfish style scent. Whether it be the swamp bug or your ring crawl, they're all scented up already in the package. You don't have to spray or dip or whatever, so that's kind of convenient. Which leads me right into the next thing that's really starting to work, and it's going to produce all through the winter. Kind of starting now as your topwater bites kind of really slow, and you start leaning more on the stick baits and crankbaits, Alabama rigs. But some days they're not going to chase anything. They're not going to suspend. They're going to be laying on the bottom. They're going to switch more to a crawfish bite, or just not aggressive fish. And that's when obviously our jigs are coming into play. Already actually on the second day of the Invitational, even though it was a small limit, we were able to catch a limit in about 2 hours, just throwing the old faithful Ozark Crawl Crocodile 3/8 ounce zapper jig with the ring crawl, the green pumpkin red flake ring crawl. It's just kind of my go-to from now and through April. If I'm struggling or I need to catch fish, whether it be small keepers or 5-6 pounders, this will produce them. And I will throw this throughout the winter. If I can catch big fish on this, you better believe I'm going to be throwing a jig over these other baits. Just if I hook them, I'm pretty sure they're coming into the boat. You're not going to lose as many fish if you you get a good solid jig hook in the roof of a fish's mouth. They're going to come in the boat. Same deal with the jerkbait rods. As far as throwing the proper rod with the particular bait, I'm very particular on my jig rod. This is the Falcon Cara Finesse jig rod. It's made special for a smaller jig, a finesse jig. Your 3/8 or half, or even smaller 5/16. You can feel everything that bait's doing on this rod. So it's really important you have the right jig rod for throwing these finesse jigs. Whatever brand it may be, Falcon's just my rod of choice. I've been throwing these for 25 years now. There's other brands obviously that make a very good rod, but just when you're buying a rod or looking for a rod to throw these particular jigs, these smaller jigs, just make sure you have a rod that is made for a finesse jig, so you can feel everything that jig's doing, because these bites this time of year, as we cool down, get very, very faint. You may not feel the bite, you may just feel a little weight, a little resistance, and using the right rod is going to assure you that you're going to feel that or detect that difference. That's going to be the difference in feeling the fish and setting the hook and getting that fish. On line, I like fluorocarbon. Obviously, 12 or 15 is what I throw in the winter. As it gets colder and the bite gets fainter and gets lighter, I will go to 12-pound test. I just feel like the bait moves slower. I feel everything it's doing. I'm going to feel them slight bites on lighter line, and I'm going to get more bites on it. So that's why I like 12-pound test. The fish, the fight is going to go away in these fish. They're going to fight you for a little bit, but then they're going to come in. They're not going to, jump 2-3 foot out of the water shaking in the wintertime. So you're less likely to break off. You're less likely to lose a fish with this lighter line. It's just going to increase your odds of catching fish in the winter. At least that's my thought. So, as far as reels, I like the fast retrieve reel. This is that 8-to-1 hyper mag that Luz makes. I really like it. It's very light. It goes along with the light rod. The lighter setup you have, the more you're going to feel, the better feedback you're going to get. So keep that in mind too, picking out rods and reels and things. I like very light setups for wintertime fishing. Same setup on my swamp bug. Swamp bug's coming. That's probably my favorite winter bait is the swamp bug, the old original single tail swamp bug, green pumpkin red flake on a 1/4 ounce shaky football head by Crockett Gator. It's got the wire hook, the wide gap hook, the coil spring. Perfect setup for wintertime. 10 or 12 pound test on this, on the same finesse jig rod made by Falcon. This rod reel setup, same reel, hyper mag, but I will go 10 pound test on this sometimes, just so that bait moves slow. There's no resistance from the line. You feel the feedback really good on that. That's probably in the winter. Once we get, I'm going to say 45 degrees and below, that the swamp bug's pretty much my go-to. Either this one or the beaver bug, or the swamp bug on this same setup, same hook weight. The 1/4 ounce is my go-to. If it's real windy or if you're fishing and you're catching fish, say deeper than 12 foot, you might want to go to the 3/8 ounce just so you get it to the bottom and you can feel that bait along the bottom and feel what it's doing. You got to have that constant feedback, positive feedback through the line to detect these light bites in the winter. If you don't feel what that jig's doing or the swamp bug's doing, you're not going to feel these bites and you're not going to catch a fish. So just keep that in mind. If you're not feeling what your bait's doing coming over every rock, you may have to either obviously slow down, go lighter line, or go a little bit heavier weight. So that's the series, or I guess series that I will change up. If I'm not feeling my bait, I'm going to slow down first. I'm going to lower. I'm going to go to smaller diameter lines, smaller pound test. And then as a last resort, I'm going to change the weight of my bait to be heavier. I just want lightest I can get away with. I think the fish pick it up. If they feel less weight, they're more likely to hang on to it, and they feel less resistance. They're more likely to hang on that bait just a little bit longer, so you can detect the bite and get them and catch some fish. I will still throw a jig with a little bigger trailer on it. Like this is that Strike King Rage Tail. Little bigger tail, bigger thumping, moves a little more water. As that water's still in the low 50s, upper 40s, I'll throw a bigger bait like that, bigger style bait, maybe the packet chunk. I will throw like a swamp bug, just the tail. I'll pull the legs off and put just the swamp bug on the back of a jig. That'll move a lot of water, a lot of more motion. Maybe if they're still feeding on shad, something like that. So we're getting into one of my favorite times of year, December, all of December, mid to late January is just excellent down here for jig fishing. It's probably the best jig fishing you'll get throughout the year. And obviously your stick baits are going to produce. Wintertime just gets a lot simpler as far as what style banks. You're not going to look at pea gravel so much. You're going to look at bigger rocks, bluff ends, even bluff shelves. Anywhere these fish can go up and down pretty quick, just by filling their bladder and going up and down in the water column. They may go out and suspend most of the day, and then they'll move up and they might feed real heavy for a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that might be it. and it's usually early in the morning. You'll have a late morning, midday kind of slow down, but then noon, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, they'll feed again. So that's generally how your feeding pattern is going to go throughout the winter. So, you just want to be in the right area, doing the right thing when they move in. You can fish one bank, a 100-yard stretch the entire day if you know the fish are there. It's the right style bank, channel swing, steeper bank, right type of rock. Might have cover, might have brush, scattered out through that bank. You may have a little wind, you may not have wind, but throughout the day, if you're fishing a bank that you have confidence there's going to be fish there, which is at those type of banks, just fish it slow, go back and forth with different baits, and eventually you're going to run into them, or they're going to move up and feed, and you're going to be there and you're going to catch them. Instead of running all over the lake chasing fish, maybe settle down to a bank to where they're at, and go back and forth and just really, really slow down, in the winter time, and you're going to catch fish, doing that particular thing. As we move a little further into the winter, or even now, you can still, or maybe start throwing a small, like a little Ned rig style, and I like to throw that on spinning rod and reel with braid, and then like an 8-pound leader, and just work it real slow down these exact same banks, and you'll catch a lot of fish doing that. Maybe a lot of smaller fish, but you'll catch keepers and 3-4 pounders on a little Ned rig, if that's what they're looking for, and they just want a small little bite. So keep that in mind. The crankbaits, the colors. I just stick with a natural. If I'm fishing, like say lower end of the Gravois, lower end of the Osage, the Nianguas, if the water's fairly clear, slightly stained, I like the natural. If you're getting into the darker water, stained water, I like the red tint with the dark back. And this is kind of a good all-around color too. If I had to pick just one color throughout the year, throughout wherever I'm fishing on the entire lake, it would probably be more of the red tint size, but still has the natural green to it, also on the sides or top. So it's going to work good in whatever watercolor. As we get into winter, we don't get a lot of rain, current. This water is going to settle into, as this water temp drops, a lot of the sediment settles out of the lake, and we get a pretty consistent green tint. I'd say 3.5 to 5 foot visibility. So you're going to see the clearest water throughout the year is going to be in the winter time. So if you're fishing real clear, some of your stick baits may produce a little better in that clear water, but you can throw them in the dirty water too. Maybe by switching up color, more of a fluorescent color, a gold color, a chartreuse color, and let that bait spend more time from bank out, say 6-8 foot, compared to if you're fishing lower, clear water. Some of them fish will suspend out over some brush piles that are in 10, 12, 15 foot. If you work a jerkbait down 6 foot above them brush piles, and that visibility is 6 foot, they're going to see it from that brush pile, and they're more likely to come up and hit it. So, boy, that's about it. We're getting into some really good times at the Ozarks. The big boats are gone. The recreation boats are gone. You'll just see a lot of fishermen out there. And the one thing about the Ozarks, we've got a lot of activity, a lot of different circuits that are running tournaments throughout the year down here at the Ozarks. So if you're down here in the middle of the week or during the week, you've got the Angry Pirates, which is really catching on. It's a fun deal. That is just a fun event. It's run out of the Gravois arm every Tuesday. Andrew Capps runs that. He does a great job, but it's just kind of if you just want to come down and have a good time and compete in tournament, see what everyone else is doing, kind of talk. They may have a few refreshments after the tournaments. on Tuesday, but it's just a good time to come down, hang out with guys, a lot of locals, some guys from out of town, whatever. Just come down and have fun. Tuesday, the Angry Pirates out of the Gravois Mills ramp. We've got throughout the weekends, you've got the Bass and Bob Winter Series. Bass World Sports puts on a real good winter series. No A-rig in that, so if you like a tournament with no A-rigs, Bass World Sports is the one. Them guys have been running tournaments forever. They do a great job. Who else has winter series? I think Just Fish has a winter series. Just get on Missouri Water Patrol. Go to regattas and look, and you can see whatever tournament circuit's coming here to the Ozarks. I know. Oak Outdoors. They're here this weekend, a 2-day solo pro series. If you want to get in a tournament, you're probably not going to find a better solo series than Oak Outdoors. They cap it at 100 boats. Last week, they had a handful still left. So if you're not doing anything, or you don't have anything planned this weekend, and you come down and you want to fish, or you think you are on some fish, fishing's been pretty tough. There's no guarantees right now any particular person's going to dominate. We've seen that for the last several weeks. Guys will catch a big bag one day. They might catch 17, 18, 20 one day and catch 6 pounds the next day. It's that time of year. You fall on it right timing, fish are up, feeding. You might go down a bank one time and catch 18, 20 pounds. Or you might fish all day and catch 2-3 fish. So it's that time of year. It's wide open for anyone to come down. That's what the winter series is all about. But look it up on the regattas and find your tournament. Jump in, come down, visit, hang out. The Bass and Bob tournaments, they're cool. They have breakfast in the morning. They have barbecue in the afternoon, or some sort of food in the afternoon. That's another a great time, winter time. It's basically more about the camaraderie and coming down and hanging out with guys, people that like to fish, and just talking amongst each other and just hanging out and having a good time in the middle of winter time. In a couple of weeks, Denise and I, we're going to spend our winter down south where it's going to be warm. Looking forward to that. But I am looking forward to the next Bass and Bob. Maybe a couple of these Angry Pirates. So, get down here to the lake, enjoy it, get your boats out. I always say the best way to winterize your boat is don't winterize it, just keep using it. So keep that in mind. If you can get down and run your boat, that's better for these boats than sitting for 2 or 3 months with gas sitting in there. Something else I will say is, even in the wintertime when you may not use your boat for a couple weeks, run you some fuel additives in it, some sort of stabilizer, some sort of fuel injector cleaner. There's a lot of different brands out, and just read on it and maybe look at the reviews, ask other people. But definitely in the winter months. In the summer, I'm running so much gas through my boats, it doesn't sit in there for a couple days, so I'm not worried about it. But in the winter time, there'll be times when it's cold, or I'm busy, or I'm going on vacation. It may sit in there 2 weeks. And as far as I'm concerned, 2 weeks is a long time for the same gas to be sitting in the motor. So, run you some fuel additives in there, put it in your tank, take the boat out, run it for a while, let it mix up with all the gas, get into your fuel system. It's useless if you just pour it in your tank and that's that. Once you pour it in your tank, you got to get that boat out and run it for a while, get it throughout the fuel system so it can do its job throughout the entire fuel system, if you're going to let your boat set any amount of time. So that's my tip today for fuel. Always wintertime, if not all time of the year, wear your life jacket, especially if you're out there by yourself. You fall in this water when it's 40s, the best you can do is swim to the bank. Instead of struggling, I know all these boats have ladders. If you're strong and you think you can get back in the boat, great. If not, get to the bank so you can stand up. Your odds of swimming in this water when it's in the 40s you've got, I'm going to say you've got, I don't know, 4 to 10 minutes to do what you're going to do before your muscles lock up and you're not able to swim. So, my opinion is, especially at the Ozarks, if you can get to the bank, get to the bank, then worry about the boat. So, wear them life jackets. Get you one of them self inflators. They're comfortable. They'll self-inflate for you in case you panic or whatever and forget to pull the rope. But other than that, we'll stay up on it now on the fishing report if things change. But all the information I give you this today, it's going to be good from now until March. So, man, get down there, enjoy it. Good luck. We'll talk to you soon.